I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold Energy and Tech Stocks. I'm here at the backstage of the May 20th um, Metals Investor Forum. I'm here with Dr. Quentin Henning. He is an advisor to Goliath. It's a company that I started covering in my newsletter, perhaps about a year ago or so. It's come up with something really exciting in the Golden Triangle. It's a gold target, and I think it's a story you're going to want to keep your eyes on. But thank you, Quentin, for joining me. And maybe you just take it away. It's the Gold Digger Project in British Columbia. And you come up with the Sherbet Zone, I guess, is one target within that larger property.
That is
Uh,
correct.
Very exciting because you have some, a target that's exposed, a very substantial target that's exposed. So why don't you explain that to our viewers?
Yeah, look, the whole target really became exposed recently. I mean, there's been a lot of melting of ice pack and so forth in the region, and this is at altitude. It's located in the southern terminus, near the southern terminus of the Golden Triangle. So we're right down in the crux of it, not far from Stewart and that region. This project, basically, or this target, emerged through field boots on the ground field work last year. They identified this Sherbet zone, which is, I'm not going to call it a vein because it's a little more substantial than that. It's more of a broad shear zone. And the thing is absolutely flooded with silica and sulfides. They managed to channel sample this thing in numerous locations up the mountain. So from the bottom up to the top, I think they have something like 500 meters vertical relief in which they've channel sampled this thing, and they're seeing true widths, anywhere from 5 to 15 meters, and grades are pretty typically in the 10 gram plus gold equivalent range. It is gold and silver, but they're seeing phenomenal grades, and it's amazing to see something like this pop up in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean it's I think if I remember right, that probably the strike length of what you've been able to map out so far anyway is about 1,000 meters. So you get 1,000 meters on strike, 500 meters at depth that you can see because it's the side of a mountain. It's really very exposed, and you've got a lot of different channel samples, I guess there, right? Averaging out, I see in my notes something like 10.66 grams per ton on average. Now, if you can get in the third dimension with any kind of intersections, I think obviously the market's going to get excited about this story.
Yeah,
If
that's
that
right.
happens,
Yes, that's exactly why this is an exciting story, is because it is readily accessible to drilling. We can drill, up the strike of this thing. Like you said, it's about a kilometer along strike is presently defined. I think it's going to prove to be longer than that because down as a system, as a structure comes down into the tree line on the south side of the mountain range, they've actually been able to find a number of pieces of float, like material, loose boulders of material that are likely coming from subcropping, mineralized shear zone somewhere in that area. So I think it's going to prove to be bigger. But in short, we can literally just go up this thing almost like a sewing machine and poke holes, 50 to 100 meters down dip from the outcropping mineralized structure. It dips to the west at about maybe minus 50 degrees. So it's a pretty friendly angle, in which to drill because we can drill back to the east and cross this thing almost at an orthogonal angle, like right angle. But we're not going to stop just drilling the near surface part of this thing. We're going to put a few holes in down dip too. We want to see what's happening at depth. There's very good evidence that the mineralizing fluids that came up along this shear zone, they didn't emerge. They didn't just fall out of the air by any stretch. They emerged from great depth, and probably from an intrusion off to the west. This seems to be driven by a magma source off to the west, which is typical of this type of system. But what's interesting is there's some places where there's vertical structures that propagate upwards from the sherbet structure, and those are also mineralized. So if you think about this as kind of like a pipe system, you can actually see that the fluids made their way up the vertical structures that rise above the sherbet. So if you presume that you trace these all the way back down to the sherbet, this thing should be have a lot of runway, like a couple kilometers of runway as it projects down into the ground.
That is exciting. Talk a little bit about your drill program. How extensive is it?
Yeah, look, it's a little over 5,000 meters it's planned. Most of it is on the shallow edge of the system,
Mhm.
say 50 to 100 meters down dip. But we do have a couple of thousand meters planned to test the down dip extent of this. Now, look, what starts at 5,000 meters, if we start to see some very exciting results, as people know, I like to be aggressive, especially with a seasonal project like this. You got to get in and do some work. So if we start to see some exceptional results early on, maybe we up that a bit. The season in that area, usually goes until maybe late September to mid October, somewhere in there. I think we could probably get a little bit more done if we push the program, and I think that the company has plenty of cash in the bank because between the money that was brought in I think January, and then the subsequent placement by Eric Sprott gives the company a lot of bandwidth to be aggressive.
All right, and if some good results, no doubt, if you need to raise more money, it'd be easier to do it. I should mention, I think there's, my notes are correct, about 48.1 million shares outstanding. That's what was on their website before we started recording this. 86 cents, I believe that's a Canadian number. $41 million market cap, sound right? Something like that?
That's about right. It has appreciated. I think people are starting to see this story and see how opportunistic this target is. I mean, it's a very easy target to test and wrap your mind around. So if again, if we see early positive results, I could see that thing multiplying, the market cap multiplying very quickly with a high grade discovery like this.
Yeah, well, certainly the focus is on the Sherbet zone, but are there other prospects there too, Quentin? On
Yeah,
the
look, I've actually worked with the company to develop a stream sediment program, a BLEG program to cover the rest of the Gold Digger project. That work is going to start here soon. It'll probably actually start a little before the drilling starts. But that program will absolutely, hands down, identify any other targets that are viable across the property. We should see results from that by August. That could lead to further targets. They probably won't be drilled this year, but certainly the area is prolific with targets. You have several mines in the area, like even the old Premier mine is just north,
Yeah,
which is a very famous high grade producer. And I see the geology very similar to the original Premier deposit. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more targets on the property.
yeah. Well, it'd certainly be an exciting one to keep an eye on. And so you think you might have some drill results back by late summer? Is that sort of what you're? I know
Yeah,
the
look,
labs are tied up; they're slow, and it's a problem with.
it'll be interesting to see how things go this year. There are a lot of companies active this year. A lot of money's come into the sector, and we're going to see a lot of drilling. It's just the way it is. But hopefully, the labs have kind of got their systematics worked out a little better. COVID is starting to dissipate, the impact of that on ability to operate, sample prep and so forth. So hopefully we see things turn around this year, but there's no
Yeah,
promises. It is going to be a busy year.
yeah,
But to answer your question, look,
yeah.
if we see, look, it's a very visual style of mineralization. Okay, so if in the first round of holes that we drill along the near surface, I suspect we'll be able to at least talk about, visually what we're seeing in those holes, say by early July after we've got a few holes in the ground.
Good. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. It's the name of the company is Goliath. GOT in Canada. It trades there under that symbol. I purchased it down here in the States under GOTRF. Certainly one that I'm keeping my eyes on. It's one of my favorites, no doubt about that. One I write about frequently. Well, whenever there's any news anyway, I pass it along to my subscribers and give my own opinion on it. So thank you very much, Quentin, for telling a story. I think it's a very exciting one. It's something people really should, if they have some investment money and they're interested in gold shares, gold exploration shares, high risk, high return. But boy, it's an exciting time for the industry. Thank you very much, Quentin, for sharing this with us.
Anytime, Jay.